Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Hail to the chief indeed. Hi everybody, I'm Mike Jarek, and welcome to this lighthearted look at the American presidency. I guess it's no surprise that some of the world's most powerful leaders have also provided some of the most hilarious moments in political history.
Read my lips.
I did show my scar.
I knew Thomas Jefferson.
Who am I?
I'm Gerald Ford, and you're not.
I'm not a crook. Why am I here?
The question is whether we're going to go forward to tomorrow or we're going to go past to the back.
For American presidents, it all starts right here at the U.S. Capitol with the oath of office.
I, Ronald Reagan, do solemnly swear.
Swear.
You further swear.
Damn it.
The duties of the office on which I am about to enter.
Well, with words kind of like that, the lives of presidents, first ladies, and foreign leaders change forever. Yes, with much anticipation, these well-respected dignitaries take their first momentous steps.
Wildflowers.
So much hurt, so much pain.
Every once in a while, you'll see something like this happen because he is really barreling.
Flour or chocolates. In his own words, I felt the atmosphere in Russia. I identified with them and tried to put it all into my playing.
So many wounds.
Right.
She brought down the house.
Yes.
That's the reason I did this.
Yeah. Honey, I told you to do it only if I didn't get any applause at it. Well, where was I?
I'll tell you what, the networks found that Bush blooper right up their alley.
Bush's bowling blunder happened in Milwaukee this afternoon. We are happy to report the president is fine, and he picked up his spare and his pride before leaving.
And I'm tired of being embarrassed.
I feel right at home in this gymnasium.
Of course, there have been plenty of candidates ready to take the plunge.
Here's Michael Dukakis in 1988 in front of a huge crowd of supporters launching his campaign. He knows how important it is to hit the ground running. What do you say after that entrance? Hi, how are you? I meant to do that. Want to see it again? He certainly made an impression, those steps on his lips. What's amazing is, after all the daily hard work and dedication most politicians contribute,
What does everybody remember?
and most people seem to have their favorites. Okay?
Yeah. Gerald Ford, Tripolot.
Gerald Ford falling down the steps.
Raindrops kept falling on their heads as Gerald and Betty Ford arrived in Austria. And President Ford kept falling on his head, first in Salzburg in front of Austrian Chancellor Kreisky. All right, thanks for dropping by. Then in Michigan on a trip up the same stairs.
Any political bloopers come to mind? Bob Dole falling off the podium. He bounced right back up, though.
Yeah, he's, and this was before Viagra.
Score and a 7-iron ago. Look out, they're playing golf.
When Gerald Ford was playing golf and he hit a golf ball into somebody's head, I think it was.
It happened at the Bob Hope Desert Classic, where a presidential golf game turned slapstick. Clinton hit the traps, Ford hit the cactus, and Bush hit just about everything else. Including the face of a woman named Norma, resulting in profuse bleeding and presidential apologies. Let's get out of here.
Even under intense scrutiny, heads of state are expected to walk the walk, talk the talk of a powerful, high-profile world leader.
Chicken, I gotta be careful. Chicken, fecal, coliform bacteria.
Damn it.
Bacteria.
You've got to look good.
It's totally cooking. You just don't get it.
Sound good. Even smell good.
Yuck!
I've been dumb.
I made a mistake.
Did something very stupid.
I'll make some mistakes.
I admit I've made mistakes.
Any others come to mind?
Potato blooper.
Dan Quill, potato.
Tomato. Didn't know how to spell potato.
Add one little bit on the end. Think of potato. How's it?
Well, how do you spell potato?
P-O-T-A-T-O-E.
P-O-T-A-T-O.
Well, what about the E?
E.
P,
O.
T,
O. P-O-T.
potato.
A-T-O. Without the E.
You're right phonetically, but what else? There you go.
I don't know college. He spelled it wrong. He's the vice president. He should know. I'm not the vice president, so I don't know.
You want a job in the White House?
Ooh.
Yeah, let me just say something.
Dan Quayle had many vocal bloopers.
No.
Yeah.
Let me just say something.
He's a very different man from the intellectual midget that has been portrayed in much of the media.
We understand the importance of having the bondage between the parent and the child.
Bondage?
As America celebrates the 20th anniversary of Neil Armstrong, Buzz Lukin, walking on the moon.
These buzzes can be confusing. Buzz Aldrin, second man on the moon. Buzz Lukin, former congressman charged with sex with a minor. Now, way back when Dan was just a senator, and apparently still politically hungry, he was able to hide and chow down while others politely listened to their president. Hail to the chef. Who would have known that Dan Quayle would someday be a salad fork away from the presidency? Have you seen the Quayle quill? Of course you haven't. It's invisible. Now watch closely. When Dan is asked for his autograph, even though he says, "I don't have a pen," he signs anyway with his fingers.
Remember the old sports adage, the best offense is a good defense? Well, I know somebody who didn't.
There is nothing that a good defense cannot beat a better offense.
Do you remember the slogan for the United Negro College Fund?
Yes.
What is it?
A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Want to hear Dan Quayle's version?
What a waste it is to lose one's mind or not to have a mind is being very wasteful.
He may have learned that from George Bush.
The ignorant mind is too often a fresh face. The ignorant mind is too often, young mind is too often something you can lose.
In the key area of civil rights, the NAACP.
Hello? Wave if you can hear me.
Now, I'm guessing, kind of like myself, that history wasn't Dan Quayle's best subject.
Millions of innocent people lost their lives because of the
bigotry and Hitlerism that permeated Germany and other parts of the world. It was an obscene period in our nation's history.
What?
No, not our nation's, but in World War II. I mean, we all lived in this century. I didn't live in this century, but in this century's history. It is a point of history that this nation, our nation, understands. We did not have, matter of fact, we fought Hitlerism.
In all fairness to Dan Quayle, he wasn't the first vice president subjected to criticism for the occasional misstep and blunder. More than once, Dwight Eisenhower found it necessary to defend his vice president, Richard Nixon. Here, Ike is asked how often Nixon is consulted for his ideas.
If you give me a week, I might think of one. I don't remember.
I welcome this kind of examination.
Anybody remember a blooper?
I do.
Oh, which one?
When Taft got stuck in the bathtub.
I don't know that one.
Yes, he was too fat for the bathtub.
We're trying to get unemployment to go up, and I think we're going to succeed.
Hi. Hello. Can you hear me? Hi.
I think it's working.
Fine nations in the 21st. I'll talk louder.
Wave if you can hear me. Can you hear me? No. Nope, he doesn't hear me.
Chancellor and I will continue to do everything we can to make the microphones work.
If I say what I'm about to say, will it be taken wrong? I hope I stand for anti-bigotry, anti-Semitism.
Anti-Semitism? No way you would say that.
But also in the abundance it has brought forth in the human
You know, sometimes I think it's safer to go with a quote from a famous author. Let's say Albert Camus.
Albert Camus once predicted.
Okay, bad idea.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Doing everything we can.
Well, I'm a country music fan. I love it, always have.
Yes, and his favorite group is the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band.
I said to him, you know, there's another one, that the Nitty Shitty Great Bird.
And I defy anyone to say that and chew gum at the same time.
There are two major promises he has not been able to keep, and those are the promises to put more Americans back to work, and the second promise is the promise to, what is that second promise?
Recently, I received a letter from Masayasu Okamura. Oh, damn it. Let me say that name again. What?
And really trying to be eloquent and clear at the same time can be a challenge for anybody.
I have the honor to give to the President of USA an instrument of sex.
You know, and speaking of sex, I never knew that George Bush and Ronald Reagan were so close.
A word about the president. For 7.5 years, I've worked alongside him, and I'm proud to have been his partner. And we've had triumphs. We've made some mistakes. We've had some sex.
No!
We've had some sex setbacks. Sometimes I feel like the...
There is so much talk in Washington, D.C., even the Washington Monument is packing protection.
You rub up and down against that warm pipe and have babies.
With a politician's busy schedule, it's apparently fairly easy to lose track of time. For instance, Dan Quayle's about 200 years off.
This is where the Continental Congress met over 200 years ago during the American Revolution. So Lancaster was actually the capital of our nation for one day in 1977.
Nixon is doing better, only 100 years off.
The year 1881 will come. Another president of the United States will be standing here, perhaps with this smoke podium or an improvement, and we will be at peace with all nations in the world long before 1881. And so, when the year comes, the year 1881, I confidently hope, the 1981, I confidently hope, I don't think anybody was here in 1881.
I knew Thomas Jefferson.
But Bob Dole is doing just dandy, only 40 years off.
I'm going to pitch a no-hitter from now to November 5. The Brooklyn Dodgers had a no-hitter last night, and I'm going to follow what Nomo did.
It seems to me there's some confusion here, or haziness that possibly needs a lot of clarification.
And there's a lot of idiots who don't understand that.
You've heard of the body politic. Well, in Russia, it's more like the body slam politic. Take that tort and shove it. I'm gonna filibuster your face.
What the hell is going on here? This is politics. Big, enthusiastic, and that's the Democratic style, too.
Hey, I don't want to throw cold water on your ideas, just on you. Talk about a circus atmosphere. It's politics Russian style.
Наше партнерство рассчитано не на один.
I'll have another drink of that fine Irish whiskey.
Actually, Bill Clinton wants to kick off this set of bloopers.
Are you ready to start?
Well, yes, I am. You know, there are numerous occasions when a renowned dignitary wants to be seen by millions and millions of people. They're called photo ops, short for photo opportunities, a brief opportunity for a politician to look and sound his best. He gets to look like a regular guy, a regular man about town, not afraid to rub elbows with us common folk. Okay, Bill.
Go!
Now, a quick quail photo op on Air Force One with an Elvis impersonator might be fun if it's quick. But this E doesn't do quickies. Dan's gonna get the whole song, all verses.
Yes, I love you so. Love me tender. Love me true.
I just wanted to show you what the map of the United States looks like as of 8 o'clock tonight. Hey! It's all yours.
All my dreams fulfilled. Oh, my darling, I love you.
Here's Richard Nixon hanging with country folk at the Grand Ole Opry.
Now, turn your handle and let it go up. Turn your handle and let it go up. Now jerk it back.
I'll stay here and try to learn how to use the yo-yo. You'll go up and be president.
By the look on Dan's face, he realizes this guy really thinks he's the king, and Quail wants to crown him.
How about any like mistakes falling down, saying silly stuff?
Oh, we saw George Bush, passed out.
And throwing up.
That was in Japan, wasn't it?
Yeah, in Japan, throwing up.
With hindsight, it was funny. At the time, it wasn't funny. When George Bush was in Tokyo and he unfortunately got sick during a big state dinner.
Yes, while he and the First Lady attended a dinner hosted by Japanese Prime Minister Miyazawa, George leaned over near the Prime Minister's lap and hurled.
At the time, we didn't think it was that funny.
Because it looked really bad.
Yeah, it looked really bad.
And although the first pictures were disturbing, George bounced right back up and lived to bark another day.
I think these guys have been hanging out with Margaret Thatcher. A rather bizarre blooper happened just up this driveway during the Ford administration. Now, as the car pulls up the driveway, watch the soldier on the end of the line. I'm not moving. I'm not moving. They told me not to move. I'm not moving. I'm not moving. Okay, I'm moving.
And really hot days should be avoided when scheduling photo ops. Shouldn't have had that tuna for lunch.
Mr. President, this concludes the ceremony.
Oh, my darling, I love you, and I always will.
All right, Elvis.
Hey, Macarena!
The Al Gore version of the Macarena. Would you like to see it again?
It's a caucus campaign.
When photo ops attack. It can happen, like when posing with children and animals. You know, it seems like a great idea, but sometimes it's just not.
For instance, this soccer team wanted to show President Reagan their ball handling skills, especially this guy. Oops, I guess this security guard was not a soccer fan.
Kinder and gentler puppy.
That's good luck. Well, quick, give me a lotto ticket and a sick baby. Okay, he's not a sick baby, but he plays one on TV. Kim Scott and her students are in from Texas to remind us of who is Jessica McClure.
She's a little girl that fell into the well.
And she visited George Bush when he was in the White House. Want to see what happened?
Yes.
Check this out.
Well, how are you? Nice to see you again. And look who's here. Hi, Jessica. You don't remember me, but I sure remember you. Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
Because of the great outpouring that we had from people all over the country, literally all over the world, congratulating us, praying for us, telling us how pleased and proud they were, we came to realize that these kinds of things happen in other communities too. As a matter of fact, they happen a lot more often than we really realize. We like to call on President Bush on behalf of all Midlanders and the citizens of the United States to present this award.
Well, let me just say how pleased I am as a former Midlander to see that town that I love. So, oh, sorry about that. Now, why did you go see your mother?
And when it's time for this little girl to go back to her mom, George Bush is ready with a push.
Okay, thanks a lot. So long.
Good to see you. Let me help you find your mom. Whose child?
Okay, we're going to launch this set of bloopers with a little help from former First Lady Bess Truman. Okay. It's fairly safe to say that no other group of people endure as much constant scrutiny as heads of state.
So many of us are caught in the blur of events.
Imagine someone watching every move you make, hearing everything you say, peering closely at every minute of your waking day, from sunup to way past sundown. You're bound to make a few mistakes. So why would anyone want to put themselves through all that?
Well, it's indoor work and no heavy lifting.
Presidential campaigns are tough, they're exhausting, grueling, extremely chaotic. No wonder even seasoned politicians get a little disoriented sometimes, like this New Hampshire representative offering his support to candidate Steve Forbes. That's Steve Forbes.
I believe that the best persons to represent us in the United States as president is Mr. John Forbes, and I do hereby offer all my support for you for presidency. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Now listen very closely to this introduction of George Bush.
My friends, it's with a great deal of pride that I present to you a president who wants to cut jobs, who wants to cut taxes to cut jobs, who wants to stop the regulations that cut the jobs.
Say what? Of course, George Bush could use some help on his introduction of New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani.
I would like to commend our three mayoral candidates, Rudolph Giuliani, Rudy.
And in 1988, Barry Goldwater, a former presidential candidate himself, had visions of a moderate candidate, a combination of George Bush and Michael Dukakis.
Great thing that you and I have to do in the coming 2 months is to make darn sure that George Dukakis is brought to light. If somebody points the finger and says, hey, George, where were you?
But we're very honored to be back in San Francisco. We're here for a great convention. We had a great convention. Or San Diego, sure, yeah.
Where were you?
I'm just waiting for one of you to come up with a robot that can give a public speech.
And that brings us to the brother blooper.
I think it has a nice little ring to it, doesn't it?
Would you like a beer or a drink, anybody? I went to Libya. I was invited to Libya, and I never had been to North Africa, and I went.
No way.
They're concerned because of the reputation Libya has, which I agree is not good, but it's, I think it's false.
Oh, God.
I thought it was much bullshit.
But Clinton and Carter's kin can't compare to what may be coming. Rudy's crew.
I, Rudolph William Giuliani.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
Yes, it's New York Mayor Giuliani.
Rudy.
Many believe someday down the road, Rudy will run for the White House. And with those kids, think of the fun we'll have.
Scotch guard the Oval Office.
Now keep an eye on Rudy's son, Andy, during his dad's inauguration as mayor.
Violent. Our priority must be to reduce the violence. I'll place a much greater emphasis on stricter enforcement of the law, to reverse the growing trend of ever-increasing tolerance for lawless behavior.
Rudy! 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 Rudy!
We're all rooting for Rudy because we want him and his kids in the White House, so we have tons of material for our next tape. Sometimes heads of state say or do something that is intentionally funny. No, really, it does happen. In fact, world leaders are most charming and often at their best when they make light of something serious or they're poking a little fun at themselves.
Like when Ronald Reagan, not long after being shot, fired back this line.
We can make our beloved country the source of all the dreams and the opportunities that she was. Missed me.
I've just come from burying a time capsule in the backyard. Right outside of near the Rose Garden here. No live congressman went into it, and
But occasionally do something, you know, not too often. I think the House has passed National Peach Month this year, and we're going to act on it soon.
Will you tell us why you think people have been so mean to you? Is it a conspiracy? Is it a plan? They treat you worse than they treated Abe Lincoln.
Wow, did you hear what she said?
I don't know, you know one of my favorite jokes, you know that story about the guy that's walking along the Grand Canyon and he falls off and he's falling to the hundreds of feet to certain death and he reaches out, he sees a little twig on the side of the canyon, he saws it and he grabs it. He takes a deep breath and then all of a sudden he sees the roots of the twig start to come loose and he looks up at this guy and he said, Lord, why me? Why me? I pay my taxes, I go to work every day. Why me? And this thunderous voice says, son, there's just something about you I don't like. Who knows?
I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit, for political purposes, my opponent's youth and inexperience.
I have a lot in common with Idaho. We are both famous for the potato.
When Republican leaders criticized FDR and his family for wasting taxpayers' money by taking their puppy, Fala, abroad on official business, FDR responded this way.
Well, of course, I don't resent a tax, and my family don't resent a tax, but Fala does resent it.
I I know it's getting late, dear, but it's not often that we have so many people who've written about us and broadcast about us all together in one room like this, and I thought you might like to say a few nice words to them. They're all from the press and radio and television. Maybe just a friendly little greeting would do. How about just a word or two, something friendly, even one kind word?
I'm thinking.
During the primary campaign, you criticized Governor Reagan for what you called his voodoo economics.
God, I wish I hadn't said that. But go ahead.
The chimpanzee who was flying in space took off at 10:08. He reports that everything is perfect and working well.
Well, I've heard the expression that who wants to live 100 years? I can tell him for sure there's one man, that's the man that's 99.
Now, I've been told that this is all off the record and that the cameras are all off. Is that right? Huh? I was told that because I've been waiting years to do this.
Bill Clinton's foreign policy experience is pretty much confined to having had breakfast once at the International House of Pancakes.
I hear these guys wringing their hands about everything being wrong with this country. I'm sorry, I just am all depressed. I want to switch over to see Jake and the Fat Man on CBS.
President Washington began this tradition in 1790 after reminding the nation that the destiny of self-government and the preservation of the sacred fire of liberty is finally staked on the experiment entrusted to the hands of the American people. For our friends in the press who place a high premium on accuracy, let me say, I did not actually hear George Washington say that.
It is, as you can imagine, a great pleasure for me to be here in this beautiful ballroom before this magnificent assembly on an evening when all thought of politics is banished and I can concentrate on what I do best, comedy.
I like photographers. You don't ask questions.
But self-control in this business is important, as I think all of you know. When you're sitting in your tank, and the gun sights are trained right on Sam Donaldson. Believe me, self-control is important.
Can you imagine Sam Donaldson with a camera? As most of you would say, the thought makes me shudder. Somebody asked me one day why we didn't put a stop to Sam shouting out questions at us when we're out on the South Lawn. We can't. If we did, the starlings would come back.
Then there are some jokes that are not meant to be heard, like the one Reagan told while doing a sound check before his weekly radio address.
I'm pleased to tell you today that I've signed legislation that will outlaw Russia forever. We begin bombing in 5 minutes.
I remember that as being quite humorous at the time because he didn't realize he was being broadcast.
But Reagan did not learn his lesson about sound checks.
He plainly wants to do it all over again in the worst way.
Fellow Americans, I've talked to you on a number of occasions about the economic problems and opportunities our nation faces. And I'm prepared to tell you it's a hell of a mess. We aren't connected to the press room yet, are we?
The funniest thing I ever saw was the day a congressman held a news conference who had been caught in the Abscam scandal to explain that the reason that he had stuffed the money into the glove compartment of his car was that, well, he couldn't put it in his ear.
That is great.
Well, it was you know, you hear the old joke about the congressman admitted taking the money but not any wrongdoing. It happened.
It did happen.
It happened.
It's not a fluke.
I mean, I was so excited that night I was so excited I couldn't believe it.
Talk about politicians poking fun at themselves. Remember back in 1995 when comedian Chris Farley came to Congress dressed up as then Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich, right in front of the real Newt Gingrich.
All right, and finally, HR 631, motion to make Sonny Bono come up here and sing I've Got You News. All in favor? All right, we did it! But, Mr. Speaker, I've been assigned a very important duty, administrating to you a new speaker's oath. So if you please put your hand on the Diet Coke and repeat after me. I, Newt Gingrich.
I, Newt Gingrich.
Do solemnly promise to continue to be a good speaker.
Do solemnly promise to continue to be a good speaker.
I promise to help the American people.
I promise to help the American people.
I promise to smile when people call me Landslide.
I promise to smile when people call me Landslide.
I promise not to kill Big Bird.
I promise not to kill Big Bird.
I promise that my book will be way less boring than Al Gore's book.
You did it!
One time I flew back to Mesa, Arizona. Cindy and I went to this dinner. I stood up and I said, I want to thank Chris and Doug and Chris for this wonderful dinner. Doug and Chris are two of our closest friends. We love Doug and Chris. I sat down, and the lady next to me said, you know, Doug and Chris have been divorced for the last 3 years.
There is no place in the world that anybody ever had a head of state play the piano while they sang a song. Would you? Anything you play, I know. Mr. President, wait a minute. Mr. President, may I ask you? Mr. President, may I say one thing? I wanted to sing a song. I don't want to ride a horse.
Nixon now. Nixon now more than ever. Nixon now more than ever. More than ever we need Nixon now. Nixon now more than ever. Nixon now more than ever. More than ever we need Nixon now. Nixon now more than ever. Nixon now more than ever. More than ever we need Nixon now. Nixon now more than ever. Nixon now more than ever. More than ever we need Nixon now.
And now, in his name.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed this study of the silly side of statesmanship. And remember one thing, if you ever decide to run for president, we'll be watching. Sometimes safer to go with a quote from a famous author like Albert Camus. Shut up. We're all rooting for Rudy because we want him to make the White House. What?
Blooper!
Can you see my crotch? I mean the paper, basically. But afraid to, I hate myself. I hate everything about myself. Okay, here we go. Everybody seems to love bloopers. So you guys have to yell bloopers. Oh, God help me. Of course, Bush could use some help with it. I'm literally losing my mind. Here we go. Remember the old sports adage? I don't remember. Oh. What else is burned into your memory?
Oh, variety things. The way people laugh when they see me in this outfit.
Yeah? Maybe your memory is just burned. Bill Clinton, has he ever done a blooper? A screw up?
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, kind of a big one.
It's a big blooper, I think, you know.
Got a bad knee. I hate my life. This is the best tape I've ever seen.